There's one thing every successful person has in common. Just there's one thing, and I've thought about this. I've read and studied everything in the last 25 years, just because it's been a personal interest of mine, right? And let's preface it by saying this: the self-made people. Okay, forget about inheritance or connections or anything. I'm talking about the people who make it by themselves. Whether it's the people, guys on the billionaires list, multimillionaires that no one's ever heard of, or even people that you might know in your life that have succeeded greatly. There's only one thing they have in common. Because if you look at even on the billion, let's start with the billionaires list. The Forbes list. There's people of different religious backgrounds. There's people that have no kids. There's people who have 8 kids. There's people who are married. There's people who are never been married. There's people who have been married 6 times. So it's like it's and there's people who made their fortune young, people who made their fortune old, people who made their fortune in technology, people who made their fortune oil or textiles. Boring business, exciting business, it doesn't matter. But here's the one thing they all have in common, and I'm going to get to something really important here. They all work incredibly hard. Okay, now there's going to be some people who go, well, it's not like that anymore, blah blah blah, whatever. Here's the thing. Here's something that hasn't changed yet. Working hard, busting your ass. And I know the arguments, guys. I'm 45. I'm not 65. Okay, so I know the argument is as far as comparing the boomers generation, and you'll take boomers will say, well, you just got to work hard. You got to work hard, and I feel like a lot of this stuff you got to take into context, and it depends who's saying it and how they're saying it. Because, for example, people will say, well, like for example, college, like boomers would work through, they would pay themselves through college. They'd work, a job or 2 jobs at night, pay their way through college. And they'll say, well, I did that. Well, guess what? You can't do that anymore. It can't be done. Like there's things you could do. There's things you can't do. You can't do that anymore. Hell, I don't think you could do that through community college now, work your way through it. Maybe you could. I don't know. But that's something that can't be done, okay? But there's so many people in this, especially in the younger generation, that's already giving up on everything. That's saying, you know what, AI's taken over, the good jobs have been shipped overseas, and there's nothing left. But here's the reality is, still, if you bust your tail, whatever it is you're doing, you can get ahead. And again, let's preface it by saying this. For people who say, well, it's not like that anymore, times have changed, sure, I acknowledge that because, well, I'll tell you, even from my own personal experiences, all the years, for the last 15 years, I've always looked at kind of like my backup plan. Like, what if my business goes to hell one day? Because unless you're Microsoft, even Microsoft, but unless you're at Microsoft, anyone's business could just evaporate. For a number of reasons, right? And I always thought, like, what would I do? And I realized early on that there is not much of a backup plan because I couldn't go and work, even working 100 hours a week. I couldn't work for $15 an hour, hell, even $20 an hour, working a shitload of hours and pay my house bills, take care of my kids, do everything I need to do. So that was not even an option. So my point. What are you doing?
Sorry.
So my point is this, is that still though, no matter what you're doing, you got to bust your tail. And what I was saying is you got to deal with things the way they are. I was saying in my other video, I tell my kids all the time, you might not like a certain situation, but you got to deal with it the way it is. You might not like that people judge you, but that's reality. You got to deal with it. You might not like inflation. I don't like inflation. Inflation's a pain in the ass. We just went grocery shopping tonight. You spend a ton of money and you get less than half of what you used to get. It's unreal. It's to the point where I'm like, I don't understand. Like, there's a part of me that's like, I don't know how this could keep going on. As far as with inflation and stuff going on, I don't know how any of this is sustainable. That at some point it's all gonna just collapse. It's kind of got me scratching my head. But anyways, I'm not liking it. No, not many people like that. But here's the thing: you got to deal with it the way it is. So what are our options right now? Our options are to work to do what you need to do. And you say, well, I don't have free time. I don't have this. I don't have that. That's fine. You do have a choice. We'll wrap it at this. I read an interesting book last year, and it was a book in the series of the Harvard Business Review, and I can't remember if it was on like, I forgot exactly what it was about. It was about like something about getting ahead. I don't know if it was. I'll find the book and I'll bring it up specifically one time. But it talked about, you have a choice. You have a choice. You have a choice on what you want to do. And someone was talking specifically, I think it was like Olympic athlete or someone was talking about, they knew they had a choice each day of whether they wanted to train or not. And I thought it was an interesting way to look at it because you have a choice. You say, well, I want free time. I don't like that the economy is the way it is. I don't like inflation. I shouldn't have to work like this. I shouldn't have to, bust my ass to make X amount of dollars. Yeah, you shouldn't have to, but hey, that's a reality, right? So, but you have a choice. You can play video games all day. You can goof off. You can, work half the time, and you don't have to do it. It's up to you. The choice is yours. For me, I'm going to choose busting my tail. I'm gonna choose working till the hours stop, or working till the hours run out. That's my choice. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna make the same choice? That's probably a better choice, and it might not be the choice for you. I think it's a better choice, but you got to make that decision.